Brandon Westbrook's fist connected with Dr. Elena Rodriguez's jaw at 3:47 a.m. in Memorial Heights Medical Center, Chicago. She hit the floor hard, blood spreading across the white tiles. Above her, a 9-year-old girl named Maya Torres was bleeding out on the operating table, seconds from death. Brandon yanked Elena up by her hair, his breath reeking of whiskey. "My father owns this hospital. I own you." His hand rose again. Then a voice cut through the chaos, calm, cold, absolute. "Touch her again and you'll lose that hand." Brandon turned. Behind him stood a man in navy camouflage and a Belgian Malinois whose eyes promised violence. Before we continue this story, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now. This journey goes deep, and you won't want to miss a single moment. Drop your city in the comments below. Let me see how far this story of courage and justice travels across our country. Now let's go back to where it all began. 19 hours. That's how long Dr. Elena Rodriguez had been standing when Brandon Westbrook walked into her life and tried to destroy it. "Dr. Rodriguez, we're losing her!" The nurse's voice cracked with panic. Elena's hands moved faster. The 9-year-old's blood pressure was dropping, 70 over 40, then 60 over 30. Maya Torres had been in the back seat when a drunk driver ran a red light. Her parents were already in surgery upstairs. This child had no one but Elena standing between her and death. 2 more units of O negative. Now! Elena's voice was steady even as her hands worked through the torn tissue, searching for the bleed. "And Page surgery again. Tell them if Dr. Harrison doesn't get down here in 3 minutes, this girl dies." The ER doors exploded open. Not the measured swing of medical professionals. The violent crash of someone who had never been told no in his entire life. Brandon Westbrook was 26 years old, wearing a leather jacket that cost more than Elena's monthly rent, and dragging a blonde woman whose hand was wrapped in a blood-soaked bar napkin. His dark hair was perfect despite the hour. His eyes were red from alcohol and entitlement. "I need a doctor!" He didn't ask, he commanded. "Now!" Nancy, the triage nurse, approached him. "Sir, if you'll just sign in at—" "Do you know who I am?" Brandon stepped into her space, too close, aggressive. "My father is Charles Westbrook. He runs this hospital. Now get me a real doctor." Elena heard the commotion but didn't look up. Couldn't look up. Maya's pressure was still dropping. The internal bleed was somewhere in her abdomen, but where? "Dr. Rodriguez." Nancy's voice carried a tone Elena had heard too many times, the careful neutrality of someone terrified of making the wrong choice. "This gentleman is insisting—" "I don't care what he's insisting. I have a critical patient." Elena's words were quiet, but they carried across the bay. Brandon's head snapped toward her. He moved before anyone could stop him, pushing past nurses like they were furniture. "You're Dr. Rodriguez." He appeared at her elbow, cologne mixing with the smell of blood and antiseptic. "My girlfriend needs attention." "I'm busy." "I want you. Now." "Then take a number." Elena's hands continued working. "Someone will see her when I'm done saving this child's life." Brandon's hand shot out and grabbed Elena's wrist. His grip was iron. The room froze. "I said, now." Each word was slow, deliberate, like he was explaining something to a particularly stupid child. Elena looked at him for the first time. Really looked. She saw the entitlement in his bloodshot eyes, the certainty that his money, his name, his father's position made him more important than the dying child on the table. "Let go of me." "Make me." Maya's monitor started screaming. Her pressure had dropped to 50 over 20. "Let go, or I'll have security remove you." Brandon's grip tightened. His face was inches from hers now. "You don't give me orders. I give you orders. That's how this works." Elena pulled her wrist free with a sharp twist. "Security!" But no security came. The guards knew who Brandon Westbrook was. They knew what happened to employees who crossed him. They found other places to be. Brandon's expression transformed. The handsome mask cracked, revealing something ugly and ancient beneath it. "You think you can embarrass me?" His voice dropped to a hiss. "In front of these people? I think you need to leave before—" He shoved her, hard. A full, violent shove that sent Elena stumbling backward. Her hip crashed into the crash cart, scattering instruments across the floor. Pain exploded through her side. Maya moaned weakly on the table. Her lips were turning blue. "I need help here!" Elena tried to recover, tried to get back to her patient. Her hands were shaking now, from adrenaline, from shock, from the realization that no one was going to help her. Brandon grabbed her white coat and yanked her around. "I'm not finished with you." "Let me go!" Elena's voice was rising now, fear breaking through her professional calm. "My patient is dying!" He slapped her. Open palm, brutal across the face. The sound cracked through the emergency room like a gunshot. Elena tasted blood. Her vision blurred. She felt herself falling, the floor rushing up to meet her. "When I tell you to do something," Brandon said, standing over her, "you do it. That's how it's always worked. That's how it's going to keep working." He raised his hand again. "Put her down, now!" The voice came from behind Brandon, low, calm, carrying an authority that had nothing to do with money or position. Everyone turned. Lieutenant Jake Morrison stood 10 feet away. He was 33 years old, wearing the Navy working uniform, green and brown digital camouflage. His face was weathered, angular. But it was his eyes that made Brandon hesitate. They weren't angry. They weren't even particularly hostile. They were simply certain. The eyes of someone who had seen real violence and wasn't impressed by playground bullies. At Jake's heel stood Titan. The Belgian Malinois was 6 years old, 75 pounds of muscle and training. He hadn't growled, hadn't moved. He simply stood with the stillness of a weapon waiting to be deployed. "Who the hell are you?" Brandon demanded. "Someone who's giving you one chance to walk away." "Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are." Jake took a single step forward. "You're a man who just assaulted a physician in front of 30 witnesses. You're a man whose father's money has protected him his entire life. And you're a man who's about to learn that money doesn't stop consequences. It just delays them." Brandon's girlfriend tugged at his sleeve. "Brandon, let's just go. Please." "Shut up." He shook her off, eyes fixed on Jake. "You think you can threaten me? You're what, security? Maintenance? I'll have your job." "I'm not hospital staff." "Then you're trespassing." Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out his military ID, held it up. "Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, Navy SEAL Team 7. I'm here visiting a wounded teammate. But I can stay to visit you if that's what you want." Something flickered in Brandon's eyes. Not fear, not yet, but calculation. "SEALs." Brandon tried to recover his composure. "You're not even armed." Jake smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. "I don't need to be." Titan's ears rotated forward, tracking every micro-movement of Brandon's body. His amber eyes held an intelligence that made the hair on Brandon's neck stand up. "Your dog doesn't scare me," Brandon said, but his voice had lost its edge. "He should." Jake's voice dropped. "Titan has worked in 5 combat zones. He's detected IEDs that sensors missed. He's taken down insurgents twice your size." He paused. "But more than that, he knows the difference between a threat and a coward. Right now, he thinks you're both." The emergency room had gone completely silent. Nurses stood frozen. Maya's monitor continued its urgent screaming. Elena pushed herself up from the floor. Blood dripped from her split lip. Her entire body shook, but she forced herself to stand straight. "I need to help my patient," she said quietly. Jake nodded without looking at her. "Then help her. I'll make sure you're not interrupted." Brandon's hands clenched into fists. "This isn't over." "No," Jake agreed. "It isn't. Because tomorrow morning, I'm requesting the security footage from this emergency room. I'm filing a formal complaint with the hospital board. I'm contacting the state medical board about a civilian assaulting a physician during an emergency procedure." He paused. "And then I'm calling a friend of mine at the Chicago Tribune who's been looking for a story about hospital corruption." "You wouldn't." "Try me." The silence stretched. Brandon's girlfriend was crying now, mascara running down her face. Around them, staff members exchanged glances. The careful looks of people who had seen Brandon Westbrook operate before and never thought they'd see him stopped. "This is a mistake," Brandon said finally. "A massive mistake. My father will destroy you." "Your father is welcome to try. I've had worse men try to destroy me. They're buried in countries you can't pronounce." Brandon stood frozen for another moment. Then he grabbed his girlfriend's arm and pulled her toward the exit. "Remember this," he said over his shoulder. "Both of you remember this night. Because I will." The door swung shut behind him. The emergency room exhaled. Jake moved immediately to Elena's side. "Can you work?" "I have to work." Elena was already turning back to Maya, whose monitors had shifted from alarming to critical. "She's crashing." "Then do what you need to do." For the next 40 minutes, Elena fought for a stranger's life. Her hands shook from adrenaline. Her jaw throbbed where Brandon had hit her. Her hips screamed where she'd crashed into the cart. But she took one breath, then another, and her training took over. "I need blood product, now. Call surgery again, and hand me a scalpel." She found the internal bleed, a torn splenic artery hidden behind the stomach. Her hands moved with precision born from 10,000 hours of practice. Clamp, suture, check. The pressure started to climb, 60 over 30, 70 over 40, 80 over 50. Maya's lips went from blue to pink. Her breathing steadied. Through it all, Jake stood at the edge of the bay, not interfering, not hovering, just present. A silent promise that she was protected, that she could focus entirely on the life in her hands. When it was over, when Maya was wheeled to the ICU with a real fighting chance, Elena finally allowed herself to feel. Her knees buckled. Jake caught her before she hit the floor. "Easy," he said. "I've got you." She didn't cry. She wanted to. God, she wanted to. But tears were a luxury the emergency room didn't allow. "Thank you," she whispered instead. "Don't thank me yet." Jake helped her to a chair. Titan moved closer, pressing his warm body against her leg. "What happened tonight isn't going to stay quiet. Men like Brandon Westbrook don't accept humiliation. They escalate." "I know." Elena touched her split lip, winced. "But I couldn't let him. I couldn't just—" "You did the right thing. The right thing is going to cost me everything." Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he crouched in front of her, meeting her eyes. "I've spent 15 years in the teams. I've watched good people sacrifice everything to do what's right. Some of them came home in boxes. Some of them came home broken." He paused. "Some of them came home stronger than they ever thought possible. None of them regretted the choice. Not one." "How do you know?" Because the alternative is worse, living with the knowledge that you could have stood up and didn't. Elena felt something shift in her chest. Not hope. It was too early for hope, but the recognition that she wasn't alone. "He's going to come after me," she said. "Yes." "His father runs this hospital." "Yes." "They'll probably fire me. Maybe worse." "Probably." "And you're still saying I did the right thing?" Jake smiled, a real smile this time. "I'm saying the right thing usually costs more than we expect, but it's still right." Elena's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Her blood went cold. "What is it?" Jake asked. She held up the phone so he could read. "You made an enemy tonight. Daddy's going to make sure you never practice medicine again. But first, I'm going to make sure you understand what happens to people who embarrass me. Sleep well, Dr. Rodriguez, while you still can." Jake read it twice. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. "Forward that to me," he said quietly. "What are you going to do?" "What I always do." He met her eyes. "Prepare for war." Nancy, the triage nurse, appeared in the doorway. Her face was pale. "Dr. Rodriguez, you need to see this." Elena followed her to the nurse's station. Nancy pulled up the security camera system on her computer. "What am I looking at?" "Watch." Nancy played the footage from 30 minutes ago. The timestamp showed the assault, showed Brandon hitting Elena, showed everything. Then the screen went black. "What happened?" "Someone erased it." Nancy's voice shook. "The entire night's footage from the ER. Gone. Like it never existed." Elena felt the ground shift beneath her. "How is that possible?" "Someone with administrative access." Nancy looked at her with fear and pity. "Someone very high up just covered for Brandon Westbrook. This wasn't automatic. This was deliberate." Jake appeared beside them. He studied the blank screen, his jaw tight. "They're moving fast," he said. "Faster than I expected." "What does that mean?" Elena asked. "It means they're scared, and scared people make mistakes." He pulled out his phone. "But it also means we're running out of time." He walked away, already dialing. Elena could hear him talking, voice low and urgent. When he came back 5 minutes later, his expression was grim. "My teammate, Marcus Chen, he just woke up." "The one in ICU?" "Yeah, and he wants to talk to you. Says he has information about something happening at this hospital, something bigger than your assault." "Bigger how?" "He didn't say, but he asked for you specifically." "Why me? He doesn't even know me." "He knows what happened tonight. News travels fast in hospitals." Jake started walking toward the elevator. "He said to tell you, this isn't just about Brandon. This is about what his father is hiding." Elena followed him, her mind racing. What is Charles Westbrook hiding? That's what we're going to find out. They rode the elevator in silence. When the doors opened on the ICU floor, Elena's phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown number. "I'm watching you right now. Walking into ICU with your soldier boyfriend. Did you really think you could win against us? You're already dead. You just don't know it yet." Elena showed Jake. He read it, then looked up at the ceiling, spotted the security camera. Someone was watching them through the hospital's own system. "We need to move," Jake said. "Now." They hurried down the corridor. Titan's ears were flat against his head, his body tense. He sensed the danger before they did. Marcus Chen's room was at the end of the hall. As they approached, Elena saw the door was slightly ajar. It shouldn't have been. Jake raised his hand, stopping her. He moved forward cautiously, Titan at his side. He pushed the door open. Marcus Chen lay in his bed. bandages covering half his head. But his eyes were wide open, staring at the ceiling. "Marcus?" Jake moved closer. Marcus didn't respond. Jake checked his pulse. He's alive, but something's wrong. Elena rushed to the bedside, checked his vitals. His heart rate was elevated. His pupils were dilated. "He's been drugged," she said. "Recently, within the last 20 minutes. "Drugged with what?" "Something to keep him quiet." Not enough to kill him, but enough to make sure he can't talk. Elena checked his IV line, found a second injection port that hadn't been there during rounds. "Someone came in here and injected something into his IV." "Who?" "Someone who knew he was about to talk to us." Jake's phone rang. He answered. "Morrison." He listened. His face went completely neutral, which Elena was learning meant he was furious. "Understood. I'll be there." He hung up. "What?" "That was hospital security. They're requesting I leave the building immediately. Apparently, I've been accused of threatening a patient's family member." "Brandon." "His father. Charles Westbrook just filed a formal complaint. Claims I assaulted his son and threatened to kill him." Jake's voice was flat. "He's got 3 witnesses who'll swear to it. Hospital employees who were conveniently in the ER at the time." "That's a lie." "Doesn't matter. It's his word against mine. And he's got the power here." Elena felt the walls closing in. "So what do we do?" Jake looked at Marcus, at the evidence of tampering, at the cameras watching them from every corner. "We do what I should have done from the beginning." He pulled out his phone again. "We go nuclear." "What does that mean?" He smiled. The cold smile of a predator who just decided to stop playing defense. "It means I'm calling in every favor I've ever earned. It means I'm contacting people who don't care about Charles Westbrook's money or power. And it means we're about to find out just how deep this corruption goes." He started dialing. Because if they're willing to drug a federal witness and erase security footage, they're hiding something much bigger than one entitled kid hitting a doctor. Elena looked at Marcus, unconscious but alive, at the camera in the corner, still watching, at Jake, already talking in low, urgent tones to someone who sounded very official. She thought about Maya Torres, the 9-year-old who was alive because Elena had refused to abandon her. She thought about all the times she'd seen something wrong and looked away. All the compromises she'd made to survive in a system that rewarded silence and punished integrity. Not anymore. "What do you need from me?" she asked Jake. He lowered the phone. "I need you to be brave for about 12 more hours. Can you do that?" Elena touched her split lip, felt the pain in her hip, remembered Brandon's fist, his threats, his absolute certainty that he could do whatever he wanted. "I can be brave," she said. "What happens in 12 hours?" Jake's smile widened. "In 12 hours, the FBI arrives, and the Westbrooks are going to learn what happens when you go to war with the United States Navy." He raised the phone again. "Yeah, I'm still here. Listen carefully. I need a federal investigation opened into Memorial Heights Medical Center. Medicare fraud, patient abuse, witness intimidation, and conspiracy to obstruct justice." He paused. "How do I know?" "Because I just watched them try to silence a federal military witness and assault a civilian physician for refusing to participate in their corruption." Another pause. "No, I'm not exaggerating. And yes, I'm willing to testify under oath, but you need to move fast. These people are cleaning up evidence as we speak." He hung up, looked at Elena. "Now we wait." "For what?" "For them to make their next mistake. And trust me, they will." Elena's phone rang. Hospital administration. She let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately, same number. "You should answer that," Jake said. "Know your enemy." Elena answered, put it on speaker. "Dr. Rodriguez, this is Victoria Manning, Hospital Chief of Staff. You're required to report to Director Westbrook's office immediately for a disciplinary hearing." "A disciplinary hearing for what?" "Patient abandonment, unprofessional conduct, and assault on a hospital visitor." Elena almost laughed. "I assaulted Brandon Westbrook?" "That's what the witnesses report. I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding, but we need to clear it up. Now." "I'm with a patient." "The patient can wait. This can't." Elena looked at Jake. He nodded. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, Elena said. 10 minutes, or we'll send security." The line went dead. "They're rushing this," Jake said. "They want you fired and discredited before the FBI can get here." "What do I do?" "You go to that meeting. You tell the truth. And you trust that I'm going to be right outside that door with Titan, making sure nothing worse happens to you." Elena took a deep breath. "And if they fire me? Then you walk out with your head high, knowing you did the right thing. And tomorrow, when the FBI raids this place, you get to watch them put the Westbrooks in handcuffs." "You're very confident." "I've seen this play before. Powerful people think they're untouchable. Then they push too hard, too fast, and everything collapses." He met her eyes. "The question is, are you ready for what comes next?" Elena thought about Marcus, drugged into silence, about the erased security footage, about 30 nurses who had seen the assault and were too terrified to speak. She thought about Maya Torres, alive because one doctor had refused to be intimidated. "I'm ready," she said. "Then let's go end this." They walked toward the elevator. Titan padded between them, alert and watchful. As the doors closed, Elena caught sight of a man in a suit watching them from the end of the hallway. He was holding a phone, recording them. The doors slid shut. "They're documenting everything," Jake said quietly. "Building a case." "So are we," Elena replied. She didn't know where that confidence came from. Maybe from the Navy SEAL standing beside her. Maybe from the knowledge that she'd already survived the worst they could throw at her. Or maybe from the simple realization that some things mattered more than fear. The elevator descended toward Director Westbrook's office, toward whatever trap he had prepared. But for the first time in 19 hours, Elena Rodriguez wasn't afraid. She was angry. And anger, she was learning, could be its own kind of courage. The elevator doors opened on the administrative floor. Elena stepped out, her split lip throbbing with each heartbeat. Jake and Titan followed 3 paces behind, close enough to intervene, far enough to maintain the illusion she was alone. "You don't have to do this," Jake said quietly. "Yes, I do." Elena's voice was steadier than she felt. "They want me scared. I won't give them that." Director Charles Westbrook's office occupied the corner suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Chicago's skyline. The door was already open, waiting. Inside, Charles Westbrook sat behind a mahogany desk that cost more than Elena's annual salary. He was 62, silver-haired, wearing a suit that screamed power and privilege. Beside him sat Victoria Manning, the chief of staff, thin, severe, holding a legal pad like a weapon. And in the corner, arms crossed, face still flushed with rage, stood Brandon Westbrook. "Dr. Rodriguez," Charles gestured to a chair. "Please sit." Elena remained standing. "I prefer to stand." "Suit yourself." Charles leaned back, fingers steepled. "Let's be direct. You assaulted my son tonight. We have 3 witnesses who will testify to that fact." "That's a lie." "Is it?" Because from where I'm sitting, a young doctor with a reputation for aggressive behavior attacked a concerned family member who is simply seeking medical care for his injured girlfriend. Elena felt her anger rising. "Your son grabbed me, shoved me, hit me! Look at my face!" "I see a woman who possibly injured herself during a physical altercation she initiated." Charles's voice was silk over steel. "But I'm willing to be generous. Resign quietly, sign a non-disclosure agreement, walk away with a neutral reference. This ugliness disappears for everyone." "And if I refuse?" Victoria Manning spoke for the first time. "Then we terminate you for cause. Patient abandonment, assault, insubordination. You'll never practice medicine again. Not in Illinois, not anywhere." Brandon stepped forward, his eyes gleaming. "You should take the deal, doctor. My father's being kind. I wouldn't be." "Brandon," Charles's voice carried a warning. "Not now." "She needs to understand. I said not now." The tension between father and son crackled. Elena saw something in that exchange. A fissure. Brandon wanted blood. Charles wanted clean. "I'm not signing anything," Elena said. "What your son did was criminal assault. The fact that you're trying to cover it up makes you an accessory." Charles's expression didn't change, but his eyes went cold. "You're making a terrible mistake." "No, you made the mistake. You raised a son who thinks he can beat women without consequences. You built a system that protects predators. And now..." The office door burst open. Jake Morrison stepped inside, Titan at his heel. "Dr. Rodriguez, we need to go. Now." "Commander Stone." Charles stood, voice hardening. "You were instructed to leave this building." "Plans changed." Jake's eyes locked on Brandon. "Your son just made a very stupid phone call." Brandon's face went pale. "I don't know what." 30 minutes ago, you called someone named Dmitry Volkov, former Russian military, current private contractor. You offered him $50,000 to make Dr. Rodriguez disappear permanently. Jake pulled out his phone, played an audio recording. Brandon's voice slurred with alcohol and rage. "I don't care how you do it. Make her gone. Make it look like an accident. I want her to suffer first." The room went silent. Elena felt her stomach drop. He hadn't just threatened her. He'd hired someone to kill her. Charles Westbrook's face transformed. Not shock, fury. "Brandon, you idiot! You absolute idiot! I was just talking, I didn't mean you hired a killer!" Charles's composure shattered. "On a recorded line! How could you be so stupid? He deserved it! She embarrassed me!" Charles turned to Jake. "Where did you get that recording?" "Your son's phone is tapped. Has been for the last 40 minutes. Federal warrant." Jake's smile was cold. "See, when you threaten a military witness, Marcus Chen, you trigger some very specific federal protocols. The FBI got very interested, very quickly." Victoria Manning stood up, her face ashen. "This meeting is over." "You're right about that." Jake moved to Elena's side. "Dr. Rodriguez is leaving. Anyone who tries to stop her will be arrested for obstruction." "You're bluffing," Charles said. The elevator dinged. 4 FBI agents stepped into the hallway, badges out. Charles Westbrook. The lead agent was a woman in her 40s, hard-eyed and professional. "Special Agent Sarah Chen, FBI. We have a warrant for your arrest." "On what grounds?" "Medicare fraud, witness tampering, conspiracy to commit murder, and about 15 other charges we're still compiling." She turned to Brandon. "Brandon Westbrook, you're also under arrest for solicitation of murder, assault, and witness intimidation." Brandon lunged for the window. Titan moved faster. The dog's jaws clamped onto Brandon's wrist, not breaking skin, just holding. Brandon screamed and dropped to his knees. "Good boy," Jake said quietly. Hold. 2 agents moved in, cuffed Brandon while he sobbed and cursed. Charles Westbrook stood frozen, watching his empire collapse in real time. "This is a mistake," Charles said. "I have lawyers, connections. You can't—" "Your connections just abandoned you." Agent Chen pulled out her phone, showed him a news article already going live. The Chicago Tribune is running a story about systemic fraud at Memorial Heights. They have documents, whistleblower testimony, everything. Elena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I told you I'd help. Now run. They have people inside the FBI. Not everyone coming for you is there to protect you. VW." VW. Victoria Westbrook, Charles's wife. Elena showed the message to Jake. His expression darkened. "Agent Chen," Jake said carefully. "How many agents did you bring?" 4. "Why?" "There should be 6. Federal protocol for multiple arrests requires minimum 6 agents. Agent Chen's hand moved toward her weapon. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying someone knew we'd be here, and they sent people to make sure Dr. Rodriguez doesn't leave this building alive." The lights went out. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting everything in red. Titan's growl rumbled through the darkness. "Everybody down!" Jake's voice cut through the chaos. "Now!" Gunfire erupted from the hallway. 3 shots. Suppressed. Professional. One of the FBI agents dropped, clutching her shoulder. Jake moved like water. He grabbed Elena, pulled her behind the desk as more shots punched through the walls. Titan was already moving, disappearing into the hallway with a snarl that promised violence. "How many shooters?" Agent Chen was on her radio, calling for backup. "At least 2, maybe more." Jake pulled his sidearm. Apparently, he had been armed. "They're not FBI." "Who are they?" "Cleaners. Someone wants to erase everyone in this room who knows about the fraud." Brandon was sobbing in the corner. "Dad, do something!" Charles Westbrook's face had gone gray. "This wasn't supposed to happen. We had a deal. We had—" "Who did you have a deal with?" Elena demanded. "Shut up!" Charles turned on her, all pretense of civility gone. "This is your fault. If you'd just treated Brandon's girlfriend, none of this—" Another burst of gunfire. Closer now. The shooters were advancing. From the hallway came a scream. Then silence. Then Titan's bark, sharp, triumphant. Jake smiled grimly. "That's one down." "Your dog just—" "My dog just saved our lives. Don't question his methods." Agent Chen was white-faced. "I need to get these civilians out of here." "The stairs are compromised. They'll have shooters covering every exit." Jake thought fast. "Is there another way out?" Elena's mind raced. She knew this hospital, knew every corridor, every service entrance. "The maintenance tunnels. They connect to the parking structure." "Where's the access?" 2 floors down, through radiology." "Can we get there without using the main elevators or stairs?" "Service elevator, end of the hall." Jake looked at Agent Chen. "Can you cover us?" "I have 1 injured agent and 2 in custody. I can't—" "Then stay here. Hold this position. Backup will arrive in—" He checked his phone. 8 minutes. "Can you hold for 8 minutes?" "I can try." Jake turned to Elena. "We're leaving. Now." "What about them?" Elena gestured to the Westbrooks. "They can take their chances with the people they hired." Charles Westbrook's eyes went wide. "You can't leave us here!" "Watch me." Jake moved to the door, checked the hallway. Titan appeared, blood on his muzzle, eyes alert. "Clear to the service elevator. Move fast, stay low." Elena ran. Her legs burned, her face throbbed, but she ran. Behind her, she heard Charles Westbrook screaming, Brandon sobbing, Agent Chen shouting orders. They reached the service elevator. Jake hit the button. Nothing happened. They cut the power to non-essential systems. He looked around. Stairs it is. You said the stairs were compromised. Lesser of two evils. He pushed open the stairwell door. Darkness yawned below. Stay behind me. If I say run, you run. Don't look back. Don't wait. Just run. They descended. 1 flight. 2. Ina's heart hammered so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. At the 3rd floor landing, Titan stopped. His ears went flat. Jake raised his weapon. Someone's here. A woman stepped out of the shadows. 60 years old, perfectly coiffed silver hair, wearing a Chanel suit. Victoria Westbrook. Don't shoot, she said calmly. I'm here to help. Jake didn't lower his weapon. How did you know we'd be here? Because I know my husband. I know how he thinks, how he operates, and I know he'd rather burn this entire hospital down than let his empire fall. Victoria held up a flash drive. This has everything. 20 years of fraud, patient deaths, payoffs to officials, all of it. Why give it to us? Because I'm tired of being complicit. Because I'm tired of watching my husband destroy lives to protect his legacy. Because... Her voice broke. Because 6 months ago, a woman named Eleanor Vance died on an operating table because Charles diverted the blood supply she needed to his private clinic. She was 72. She was my friend. Elena took the flash drive. Why now? Why not years ago? Because I was a coward. Because I told myself it wasn't my responsibility. Because I was comfortable, and comfort is a drug that makes you blind. Victoria met her eyes. But when I saw what Brandon did to you tonight, when I saw my son become the monster my husband created, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Gunfire echoed from above. Closer. They're coming, Jake said. We need to move. Victoria stepped aside. The maintenance tunnel access is through radiology, but there's something you need to know first. What? The shooters aren't here to kill you. They're here to kill everyone who knows about the fraud. That includes the FBI agents. That includes my husband and son. She paused. Charles hired them to create a tragedy. A mass shooting by a disgruntled employee. Everyone dies. The evidence burns. He walks away and rebuilds. Elena felt sick. He'd kill his own son? Brandon's a liability now. The recorded phone call, the assault, the witnesses? Charles is cutting his losses. Victoria's voice was hollow. I've been married to a monster for 30 years. Tonight, I finally admitted it. Jake's radio crackled. Agent Chen's voice strained. Morrison, we're under heavy fire. They're using automatic weapons. We can't hold... Static. Then nothing. They're dead, Victoria said quietly. Or they will be soon. Charles doesn't leave loose ends. We have to go back, Elena said. We can't just... We can, and we will. Jake grabbed her arm. Those agents knew the risks. Our job is to survive and make sure their deaths mean something. Titan barked sharply. Warning. Footsteps pounded down the stairs, multiple shooters, moving fast. Jake pulled Elena through the radiology department door. Victoria followed. They ran through darkened rooms filled with hulking machines, their emergency lights casting strange shadows. There! Elena pointed to a service hatch in the floor. That leads to the maintenance tunnels. Jake wrenched it open. Darkness below. A metal ladder descending into nothing. Ladies first, he said. Elena climbed down. The air was cool, smelled of concrete and old water. She dropped the last few feet, landed hard. Victoria came next, surprisingly agile for her age. Jake lowered Titan on a makeshift harness, then descended himself. He'd barely touched the ground when the door above exploded inward. Gunfire stitched across the opening. Jake slammed the hatch shut, spun the locking wheel. "That'll hold them for maybe 90 seconds, he said. "Which way to the parking structure?" Elena oriented herself. "East. Follow me." They ran through narrow concrete tunnels. Pipes overhead dripped condensation. Their footsteps echoed. Behind them, the sound of metal grinding as the shooters worked to open the hatch. "How many exits from these tunnels?" Jake asked. 3. Parking structure, loading dock, and the old wing they're renovating. They'll have all 3 covered. "Then what do we do?" Jake didn't answer. His phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. "Understood." He hung up, looked at Elena and Victoria. "That was my CO. The FBI agents upstairs are dead. All 4 of them. The Westbrooks are dead. Shot, execution style." Victoria stumbled. Elena caught her. The older woman's face had gone gray. "Charles is dead?" Victoria whispered. "Yes." "And Brandon?" "Yes." Victoria started laughing. Not joy. Hysteria. "I thought I'd feel different. Relieved, maybe. But I just feel empty." "We can process later," Jake said. "Right now, we need to." Titan stopped. His hackles rose. From ahead of them, flashlight beams cut through the darkness. From behind, the hatch clanged open. They were trapped. Jake assessed their options. "How well do you know these tunnels?" "I've been down here twice in 3 years," Elena said. "I'm not exactly an expert." "Good enough." He pointed to a narrow side passage. "Where does that go?" "I don't know." "Then let's find out." They squeezed into the passage. It was barely wide enough for one person. The walls pressed close. Elena's breathing echoed loud in her ears. Behind them, voices. "Spread out. Check every passage. They're down here somewhere." The narrow passage opened into a small chamber, old equipment covered in dust. And another door, this one marked with a biohazard symbol. "That's the old medical waste disposal area," Elena said. "They sealed it off 15 years ago after new regulations." "Sealed how?" "I don't know. It was before my time." Jake tried the door. Locked. "Step back." He shot the lock twice. The sound was deafening in the confined space. The door swung open, revealing another tunnel. This one older, grimier, with water pooling on the floor. They entered. The smell hit immediately. Decay. Chemicals. Something worse underneath. "Keep moving," Jake urged. They waded through ankle-deep water. Elena tried not to think about what might be in it. Titan whined but followed, his training overriding his discomfort. The tunnel curved. Ahead, a faint glow. Natural light. "Exit?" Elena asked hopefully. They emerged into an abandoned wing of the hospital. Windows broken, equipment rusted, nature reclaiming concrete and steel. Outside, dawn was breaking over Chicago. "Where are we?" Victoria asked. Elena oriented herself. "The old psychiatric wing. They closed it in 2005, planned to demolish it, but the funding fell through." "And the exit?" "Loading dock on the north side. It's chained shut, but I can handle a chain." Jake moved toward the loading dock. "Stay close. We're not clear yet." They picked their way through debris. Glass crunched underfoot. Somewhere above, a bird had nested in the rafters. The loading dock was exactly where Elena remembered. Jake examined the chain, then shot it. The metal parted. They stepped outside into cool morning air. The city was waking up. Traffic sounds, a siren in the distance. Jake's phone buzzed. He checked it. My CO again. The FBI is sending a clean team. Agents we can trust. But we need to get somewhere public. Somewhere with witnesses. These people won't try anything in broad daylight. Where? Elena asked. Victoria spoke up. The Federal Building, downtown. It's 20 minutes by car, and it has security we can't bypass. You have a car? She held up keys. Parked 2 blocks from here. I planned for this possibility. They walked through Chicago's awakening streets, 3 people covered in dust and blood, 1 military canine trying to blend in. It was almost funny. Victoria's car was a Mercedes. Expensive. Safe. She drove while Jake kept watch. Elena sat in back, holding the flash drive that contained 20 years of corruption. What happens now? Elena asked. Now we survive the next hour, Jake said. Then we testify. Then we watch the entire corrupt system burn. And then? Then you go back to saving lives. Because that's what you do. Elena looked out the window at the city streaming past. Somewhere in this city, powerful people were scrambling, making calls, trying to contain the damage. But it was too late. The truth was out. She thought about Maya Torres, the 9-year-old girl who was alive because Elena had refused to abandon her. She thought about Eleanor Vance, the 72-year-old woman who died because Charles Westbrook valued profit over human life. She thought about the choice she'd made last night, the choice to stand up when it would have been easier to kneel. The Federal Building rose ahead of them, imposing and safe. Victoria parked. They climbed out, walked toward the entrance, and stopped. Standing on the steps, waiting, were 6 men in tactical gear. Not FBI, not police. Private contractors with dead eyes and weapons hidden under jackets. Jake, Elena said quietly, we have a problem. He saw them. His hand moved toward his weapon. Don't, Victoria whispered. Too many civilians. They'll create a massacre. The lead contractor stepped forward. Dr. Rodriguez, Mrs. Westbrook, Commander Morrison, please come with us. Our employer wants to speak with you. Who's your employer? Jake demanded. The man smiled. Someone who has a lot more power than Charles Westbrook ever did. Someone who's very interested in making sure that flash drive never sees daylight. Elena's hand tightened on the flash drive in her pocket. They'd escaped the hospital, survived the shooters, made it to safety, and walked right into a trap. Jake's hand stopped halfway to his weapon. The lead contractor's smile widened, reading the calculation in his eyes. 6 armed men, morning commuters streaming past. 1 wrong move, and civilians died. Smart choice, Commander. The contractor stepped closer. Now, the flash drive. Slowly. Elena's fingers tightened around it in her pocket. 20 years of evidence, proof of murder, fraud, corruption. She couldn't just hand it over. Who sent you? Victoria's voice was steady, despite the tremor in her hands. My husband is dead. Who's paying you now? Someone who values discretion. The contractor held out his hand. The drive. Last chance. Titan's growl rumbled low and dangerous. Jake's hand touched the dog's head, a silent command to wait. Then Elena saw her. Across the street, partially hidden behind a news van, Sarah Kim, the veteran nurse from the hospital, holding a phone, recording everything. Their eyes met. Sarah nodded once, then disappeared into the crowd. Elena made her choice. Here. She pulled out the flash drive, held it up. You want it? Come get it. She threw it, hard. Not at the contractor, but high, arcing over his head into the crowded plaza behind him. The contractor's eyes tracked it. For 1 second, his attention divided. Jake moved. His elbow connected with the contractor's throat. The man dropped, gasping. Jake's other hand grabbed his weapon, tossed it to Victoria. "Get inside the building! Run!" Victoria ran. Elena followed. Behind them, chaos erupted. Titan launched at the nearest contractor, 75 pounds of trained fury. The man screamed as jaws clamped onto his arm. His weapon clattered to the concrete. Jake was already moving to the next threat. A kick to the knee, a punch to the solar plexus. 15 years of combat training condensed into 3 seconds of brutal efficiency. "Federal agents!" A voice boomed across the plaza. "Drop your weapons!" Real FBI this time. 6 agents, weapons drawn, badges visible. But the contractors weren't dropping their weapons. They were raising them. "Get down!" Jake tackled Elena to the ground as gunfire erupted. Screams, running feet. The morning commute transformed into a war zone. Elena's face pressed against cold concrete. She heard bullets punching through metal, shattering glass. Heard Jake's harsh breathing beside her. Heard Titan snarl as he took down another contractor. Then silence. Jake pulled her up. "Inside, now." They scrambled through the federal building's entrance. Security guards were locking down the doors, activating metal barriers. Outside, 3 contractors lay on the ground, cuffed or incapacitated. The others had scattered. Victoria was already inside, her Chanel suit torn, her perfect hair disheveled. She still held the contractor's weapon, hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. "The flash drive," she said. "Where?" "I have it." Sarah Kim stepped out from behind a pillar, holding up the small device. "Caught it. Got the whole thing on video, too. Those men threatening you, the fight, everything." Elena stared. "Sarah? How did you—" "I followed you from the hospital. Been following you since you left the ER last night." Sarah's voice cracked. "I've been silent for 30 years. Watched good people destroyed. Watched patients die. I couldn't be silent anymore." An FBI agent approached, not Sarah Chen from earlier. A man, older, with hard eyes and a scar across his jaw. "I'm Agent Michael Torres. I need you all to come with me. Secure interview room. We have a lot to discuss." Torres, the name registered. "Are you related to Maya Torres, the girl who was in the car accident?" The agent's expression softened fractionally. "My niece. I heard what you did for her last night. Thank you." "She's alive. That's all the thanks I need." They followed Torres through security checkpoints, through corridors filled with federal employees, into a windowless room with a conference table and recording equipment. Torres closed the door, locked it. "You're safe here, for now." "For now?" Jake's voice was sharp. "What does that mean?" "It means the people you're up against have reach. Federal reach." Torres pulled out a folder, spread photographs across the table. Charles Westbrook wasn't the top of this pyramid. He was middle management. Elena stared at the photos. Government officials, hospital administrators from a dozen cities, pharmaceutical executives, and one face that made her blood freeze. "That's Senator Richard Carlisle," Victoria whispered. "He and Charles were college roommates. I had dinner with him 2 months ago." "Senator Carlisle chairs the Senate Healthcare Committee," Torres said. "He's been taking bribes from hospital networks across the country for 15 years. In return, he blocks legislation that would increase oversight. The Medicare fraud you uncovered? It's happening in 23 states. Estimated total? Over $2 billion. The number was incomprehensible. Elena had thought Charles Westbrook's crimes were monstrous. This was something else entirely. "How long have you known?" Jake asked. 6 months. We've been building a case, but Carlisle's connections run deep. FBI, Justice Department, even the White House. Torres met Jake's eyes. "That's why the agents sent to the hospital last night were dirty. Carlisle has people everywhere." "And Agent Sarah Chen?" Torres's expression darkened. She wasn't dirty. She was trying to do the right thing. They killed her for it. Elena felt sick. 4 FBI agents murdered. The Westbrooks executed, all to protect a senator's corruption. "Why are you telling us this?" Victoria asked. "If Carlisle has so much power..." "Because my niece almost died last night. Because a good doctor risked everything to save her." Torres looked at Elena. "Because I'm tired of watching evil win. Because good people are too scared to fight." Sarah Kim placed the flash drive on the table. "What's on here?" 20 years of financial records from Memorial Heights. Proof of fraud, patient deaths, payoffs. Victoria's voice was hollow. "But if Carlisle controls the Justice Department, what good does it do?" "We don't go through justice." Jake pulled out his phone. "We go public. Every news network simultaneously. Flood the zone. Make it too big to contain." Torres shook his head. "Carlisle will claim it's fabricated. Deep fakes, conspiracy theories. Without corroboration from federal authorities, then we get federal authorities who aren't corrupted." Jake was already dialing. "I know someone at the Pentagon. Inspector General's office. They investigate corruption independent of civilian oversight." Elena's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. "Dr. Rodriguez?" The voice was male, cultured, familiar. "Who is this?" "Senator Richard Carlisle. I believe we have some mutual concerns to discuss." The room went silent. Elena hit the speaker button. "I'm listening." "You have something that belongs to me. A flash drive containing proprietary business information that was stolen from Memorial Heights." "You mean evidence of murder and fraud?" Carlisle's laugh was warm, avuncular. "I understand you're upset. You've been through a traumatic experience. Brandon Westbrook's actions were inexcusable. Charles's cover-up was misguided. But let's not conflate isolated incidents with systemic corruption. $2 billion isn't isolated." A pause. When Carlisle spoke again, the warmth was gone. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. The system I've built keeps healthcare functional in this country. Without it, hospitals collapse. People die. You think you're fighting corruption? You're fighting survival. You're killing patients for profit." "I'm making difficult choices you're too naive to understand. But here's what I do understand." His voice dropped. "Your parents, Elena. Mariana and Carlos Rodriguez. They live at 2847 Oak Street, don't they? Your father's diabetes, your mother's heart condition. They depend on Medicare. It would be unfortunate if their benefits were suddenly flagged for review, if their medications became unavailable, if..." "You touch my parents, and I'll..." "You'll what?" "You're one doctor. I'm a United States Senator. I've destroyed better people than you." Carlisle's breathing changed, anger bleeding through. "Give me the flash drive. Walk away. Your parents stay safe. You keep your medical license. Everyone wins." Elena looked at the faces around the table. Sarah Kim, who'd been silent for 30 years. Victoria Westbrook, who'd finally found courage to stand against her husband. Agent Torres, whose niece almost died. Jake Morrison, who'd stepped into violence to protect a stranger. "No," Elena said. "No?" "My parents didn't raise a coward. They came to this country with nothing. Worked themselves to exhaustion so I could become a doctor, so I could help people." Her voice strengthened. "You think threatening them scares me? It makes me angrier. Because men like you have been threatening families like mine for generations. And we're done being scared." "You're making a fatal mistake." "You already made yours. You underestimated how many people are tired of being afraid." She hung up. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "We need to move my parents. Now." Torres was already on his phone. "I'm sending a protective detail to their address. They'll be in federal custody within the hour." "Will that stop Carlisle?" "Nothing stops men like Carlisle, except exposure." Torres looked at the flash drive. "We need more than financial records. We need testimony, people willing to go on record." "I'll testify," Victoria said. "Me too," Sarah added. "And me." A new voice. They turned. Standing in the doorway was a woman Elena didn't recognize, late 30s, expensive suit, carrying herself with the confidence of someone used to power. "I'm Jennifer Hayes, former chief financial officer at Memorial Heights. I resigned 6 months ago after discovering the fraud." She placed a briefcase on the table. "I've been collecting evidence ever since, bank records, emails, recorded phone calls with Charles Westbrook and Senator Carlisle. Everything." Torres opened the briefcase. Inside were dozens of folders, thumb drives, and a digital recorder. "Why now?" Jake asked. "Why not come forward 6 months ago?" "Because I was scared. Because I convinced myself it wasn't my fight." Jennifer looked at Elena. "Then I saw the news this morning, saw what you did last night, saw you stand up when you had every reason to walk away." Her voice cracked. "My daughter is 8 years old. I want her to grow up in a world where courage matters more than comfort." Elena felt something shift. Not just in the room, but in herself. She'd thought she was alone, but she wasn't. She'd never been. "How do we do this?" she asked Torres. "How do we take down a senator?" Carefully, strategically. Torres spread out a map of downtown Chicago. "We have a press conference scheduled at the Tribune building in 90 minutes. Routine healthcare reform announcement. Carlisle will be there. If we can get you in front of those cameras, if you can present the evidence live, he'll have me arrested before I can speak." "Not if you're under federal protection." Jake's eyes were calculating. "Torres, can you get us into that building?" "I can get you to the lobby. After that, you're on your own." "That's all I need." Victoria stood. "I'm going with you. Mrs. Westbrook, I've been a coward for 30 years. I'm not being one anymore." She met Elena's eyes. "My husband destroyed lives. My son followed his example. The least I can do is make sure their crimes aren't buried with them." Sarah Kim stood too. "I'm in. I've watched too many people suffer in silence. Not anymore." Jennifer Hayes nodded. "My daughter deserves better than a world run by men like Carlisle. Count me in." Elena looked at these women. Different ages, different backgrounds, united by one thing. They'd all reached a breaking point. They'd all decided that some things mattered more than safety. "Then let's go end this," she said. Torres made calls, arranged transportation, security, credentials. Within 20 minutes, they were moving again. 2 unmarked SUVs. Elena rode with Jake and Titan. Victoria, Sarah, and Jennifer in the second vehicle, with Torres and 2 agents. As they drove through Chicago streets, Jake spoke quietly. "You know this might not work. Carlisle has contingencies. He's been playing this game for 15 years. "I know. And even if we expose him, the system he built doesn't collapse overnight. There will be others, maybe worse." "I know that too." "So why do it?" Elena thought about Maya Torres, 9 years old, alive because one doctor had refused to be intimidated. She thought about Eleanor Vance, dead because Charles Westbrook valued money over human life. She thought about her parents, who'd crossed a border with nothing but hope and determination. Because if we don't, who will? Because silence is how evil wins. Because... She stopped. Because my parents taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right even when you're terrified. Jake smiled. "Your parents raised you well." They raised me to be better than my fear. The Tribune building loomed ahead. News vans clustered outside. Reporters, cameras, a crowd gathering for the press conference. And standing on the steps, surrounded by security, impeccably dressed and smiling for the cameras, was Senator Richard Carlisle. Torres's voice crackled over the radio. "We're 2 minutes out. Once we're inside, stick to the plan. Get to the press room. Get in front of cameras. Make it too public for him to stop you. And if he tries? Then we hope the press cares more about truth than access." They pulled up to the loading dock. Back entrance, away from cameras. Torres flashed his badge at security. They were waved through. Inside, the building hummed with pre-conference activity. Staffers rushing, technicians checking equipment, journalists reviewing notes. Elena's group moved through service corridors, staying out of sight. Torres led them toward the press room. They were 50 feet away when a voice stopped them. "Commander Morrison, Dr. Rodriguez, what a surprise." Senator Carlisle stood in the hallway, flanked by 4 security personnel. Not contractors this time. Secret Service. "Senator?" Jake's voice was neutral. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Didn't you? This is my press conference. Healthcare reform initiatives." Carlisle's smile was predatory. "Though I imagine you're here to disrupt it, with wild accusations and fabricated evidence." "The evidence isn't fabricated." "A flash drive that could contain anything. Testimony from disgraced employees and grieving family members." Hardly credible. Carlisle looked at Elena. "I gave you a chance to walk away. You should have taken it." "My parents are safe," Elena said. "Your threats are empty." "Are they? Your father's insulin shipment was delayed this morning. Bureaucratic error. These things happen, especially when someone makes enemies in high places." Elena felt her composure crack. "You bastard!" Jake's hand on her arm stopped her. "You're threatening a civilian's family. That's a federal crime." "Prove it. This conversation is private. No recordings." Carlisle gestured to his security. "Escort these people out. If they resist, arrest them for trespassing." The Secret Service agents moved forward. Torres stepped between them. "These people are under federal protection. You touch them, you're obstructing a federal investigation." "Investigation into what? Based on what evidence?" Carlisle pulled out his phone. "I have the Attorney General on speed dial. One call and your investigation disappears." "Make the call," Torres said quietly. "Let's see if the Attorney General wants to be part of a cover-up that's about to go national." Carlisle's finger hovered over the phone. Calculation warred with confidence. Then Victoria Westbrook stepped forward. "Hello, Richard." Carlisle's composure flickered. "Victoria, I was sorry to hear about Charles. A tragedy. Was it? Or was it convenient?" Victoria's voice was ice. "My husband was your partner for 20 years, and when he became a liability, you had him killed." "That's absurd." "I have the phone records. Calls between you and the contractors who executed him. Payments from a shell company you control." Victoria held up her phone. "And I have a recording of you discussing it. Charles recorded everything, Richard. Every meeting, every phone call. He didn't trust anyone. Not even you." Carlisle's face went pale. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Victoria pressed play. Carlisle's voice, tinny but clear. "Charles is done. He's exposed, compromised. Clean it up. Make it look like the doctor's revenge. Eliminate everyone who knows about the network." Another voice. "Including his son?" "Especially his son. Brandon's a liability. Always has been." The recording stopped. The hallway was silent. That's taken out of context," Carlisle stammered. "Then explain the context to them." Victoria pointed to the press room. Through the open door, cameras were visible, and several reporters who'd stopped to listen, who'd heard everything. Carlyle realized too late. This wasn't a private hallway. The press conference was already starting. Microphones were live, cameras were rolling, and every word had been broadcast to the press room. A reporter appeared in the doorway. "Senator Carlyle, did you just admit to ordering the execution of Charles and Brandon Westbrook?" Another reporter. "Is it true you've been running a Medicare fraud scheme across 23 states?" Carlyle's security detail stepped back. They weren't paid enough to protect a senator from his own words. "This is a setup," Carlyle said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Edited recordings, fabricated evidence." "We have bank records," Jennifer Hayes said, stepping forward. "We have emails. We have testimony from 23 hospital employees across the country. We have everything." Sarah Kim held up her phone. "And I have video of your contractors threatening Dr. Rodriguez outside the federal building this morning. Attempted kidnapping of federal witnesses." Torres pulled out handcuffs. "Senator Richard Carlyle, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, Medicare fraud, witness tampering, and about 40 other federal crimes I'll read you on the way to booking." "You can't arrest a sitting senator." "I can when I have probable cause and a recording of you confessing to murder." Torres snapped the cuffs on. "You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Carlyle's carefully constructed empire crumbled in real time, broadcast live to millions. Elena watched it happen and felt something release in her chest. Not triumph. Something quieter. Justice. Jake appeared at her elbow. "Your parents are secure. Federal protection. They're safe." "Thank you." "Thank yourself. You're the one who stood up." They walked out of the Tribune building into chaos. News crews scrambling, Carlyle being led away in handcuffs, Victoria Westbrook giving an impromptu interview about her husband's crimes and her own complicity. Sarah Kim stood nearby, crying and laughing simultaneously. 30 years, she kept saying. 30 years I waited. Jennifer Hayes was on her phone, presumably calling her daughter, telling her that Mommy did something brave. Torres approached Elena. "The Inspector General wants your testimony. Formal deposition. We're building cases against 17 other officials connected to Carlyle. How long will that take? Months, maybe years. This is bigger than any of us realized. And in the meantime? In the meantime, you go back to being a doctor. Memorial Heights is under federal oversight now. New administration. Clean house." Torres smiled. "They've asked you to stay on as interim chief of emergency medicine." Elena blinked. "What?" "You saved a little girl's life while being assaulted. You exposed massive corruption. You risked everything for what's right." Torres shrugged. "People like that don't grow on trees. They want to make sure you stay. I haven't even finished my fellowship. Sometimes experience matters less than character." He handed her a card. "Think about it. Let me know." He walked away, leaving Elena standing in the morning sun, holding a job offer she'd never imagined. Jake and Titan approached. "So, Chief of Emergency Medicine. That's something." "It's too much. I'm not ready." "You saved a child while being beaten. You took down a senator. I think you're ready." Elena looked at the chaos around them, the fall of Carlyle, the beginning of justice, all because she'd refused to abandon a dying patient. "I need to check on Maya," she said suddenly. "Make sure she's okay." "I'll drive you." They walked to Victoria's Mercedes. The older woman saw them and tossed Jake the keys. "Take it. I'm going to be here for hours anyway." The drive to the hospital was quiet. Elena's adrenaline was finally crashing, leaving exhaustion in its wake. "What will you do now?" she asked Jake. "Pentagon investigation continues. Carlyle had connections in military contracts too. I'll be busy for a while." He glanced at her. "But I'll be around." Someone needs to make sure you don't get into any more trouble. Elena smiled despite her exhaustion. I think the trouble found me. It usually does. Question is whether you run from it or face it. I faced it. Yes, you did. They pulled into Memorial Heights parking lot. The hospital looked different somehow. Same building, but the weight of corruption had lifted. Federal agents were visible at every entrance. A new era beginning. Elena walked into the ICU, found Maya Torres's room. The little girl was awake, surrounded by family. Agent Torres sat beside the bed, holding her hand. Maya saw Elena and smiled. You're the doctor who saved me. I'm just a doctor who did her job. Uncle Mike says you're a hero. Elena looked at Torres. He shrugged. If the shoe fits. Heroes don't exist, Elena said gently. Just people who make hard choices when it matters. Then I want to be like you when I grow up. Elena felt tears threatening. She'd been awake for 36 hours, been assaulted, hunted, shot at, brought down a senator. And this, a 9-year-old girl who wanted to be a doctor. This was what made her cry. Then study hard. Be brave, and never let anyone tell you that standing up for what's right isn't worth it. I promise. Elena left the room before the tears could fall. Jake was waiting in the hallway. She's going to be okay, Elena said. Because of you. Because I refused to be afraid. They walked out of the hospital together. The sun was higher now, the city fully awake. Somewhere, federal agents were dismantling a corruption network that spanned states. Somewhere, other whistleblowers were finding courage. Somewhere, the system was beginning to heal. But right now, Elena was just tired. I need about 12 hours of sleep, she said. I'll make sure you get it. Titan and I will keep watch. You don't have to, I know, but I'm going to anyway. They got in the car. As Jake drove, Elena's phone buzzed one last time. A text from Sarah Kim. You changed everything. Thank you. Another from Victoria. My husband destroyed lives for profit. You risked yours for principle. That's the difference. That's everything. And one from Jennifer Hayes. My daughter asked if you were a real superhero. I told her something better. You're a real person who did something superhero-level brave. Elena closed her eyes, let exhaustion pull her under. When she woke, she was going to have to rebuild her life, testify in trials, navigate a new position she wasn't sure she deserved, face the aftermath of violence and trauma. But right now, just for this moment, she let herself rest. Because the truth was out. Justice was coming. And Elena Rodriguez, daughter of immigrants, doctor, reluctant hero, had proven that one person standing up could change everything. The car drove through Chicago's streets, carrying her toward whatever came next. Behind them, a corrupt system was collapsing. Ahead, something better waited to be built. Elena woke to the sound of shattering glass. Jake yanked the steering wheel hard right. The Mercedes swerved as the rear window exploded inward. Titan barked, sharp and urgent. Stay down! Jake's voice cut through Elena's disorientation. Another shot. The side mirror disintegrated. They were on Lakeshore Drive, traffic heavy, nowhere to hide. Jake accelerated, weaving between cars. Someone's shooting from the overpass. High-powered rifle. Elena's heart hammered. I thought we were safe. Carlisle's arrested. Carlisle's not the only one who wants you dead. Jake's eyes were on the rearview mirror. The network's bigger than one senator. Someone's cleaning up loose ends. He took a hard left, tires screaming. Drove down a side street, then another, zigzagging through Chicago's grid until he was certain they'd lost the shooter. He pulled into an underground parking garage, killed the engine. Silence except for their breathing. "You okay?" he asked. Ina's hands were shaking. "Define okay." "Not hit? Not bleeding?" "Then I'm okay." But her voice cracked. The adrenaline, the exhaustion, the realization that even with Carlyle arrested, the danger wasn't over. It broke something inside her. Jake's hand found hers. "Hey, look at me." She did. His eyes were steady, certain. "You're alive. That's what matters. Everything else we handle." "For how long? How long do we keep running, keep fighting?" The tears came now, hot and bitter. "I just wanted to save a patient. That's all. And now people are trying to kill me. My parents are in danger. I can't even sleep without—" "I know." His voice was gentle. "I know what it's like. After my first deployment, I couldn't sleep for 6 months. Every sound was a threat. Every shadow was an enemy." "How did you survive it?" "I didn't. Not at first." Jake's thumb traced circles on her hand. "I broke. Completely. Spent 3 days locked in my apartment, convinced I was going to die. Then a friend, a chaplain, he sat with me. Didn't try to fix me. Just sat there." "What did he say?" "He said courage isn't never being afraid. It's being terrified and showing up anyway, day after day. Until one day, you realize you're not just surviving, you're living." Elena wiped her eyes. "I don't feel brave. I feel exhausted." And that's what bravery looks like. The people who feel brave don't understand the cost. His phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. "When?" A pause. "Are they safe?" Another pause. "Understood. We're on our way." He hung up, looked at Elena. "That was Torres. Your parents' protective detail was attacked 30 minutes ago." Elena's blood turned to ice. "Are they?" "They're alive. The agents got them out, but 2 agents were killed." Jake started the engine. Someone knew exactly where they were. Someone with access to federal protection protocols. "A mole." "Yeah, which means we can't trust anyone except the people we've already vetted." He pulled out of the garage. "Torres is moving your parents to a secondary location. He wants us there to confirm they're safe." Elena's mind raced. 2 more deaths. 2 more people killed because she'd refused to stay silent. "This has to stop," she whispered. "People are dying because of me." "People are dying because of corruption. You're just the one brave enough to expose it." Jake's voice hardened. "Don't you dare take responsibility for evil committed by others." They drove in tense silence. 15 minutes later, Jake pulled into a nondescript office building on the outskirts of the city. Torres met them at the entrance, his face grim. "Your parents are upstairs, 4th floor. They're shaken, but unharmed." Elena ran, took the stairs 2 at a time, burst into a small conference room. Her mother, Mariana, sat at the table, clutching her rosary. Her father, Carlos, stood by the window, his face pale. When they saw Elena, her mother broke. "Mija!" Mariana grabbed her, held her tight. "They said people were trying to kill you. They said—" "I'm okay, Mama, I'm okay." Carlos approached, his hands shaking. "What have you done, Elena? What trouble have you brought to our family?" The words stung. "Papa." 2 men died protecting us. Good men. Because you couldn't leave well enough alone." His voice rose. "We came to this country for safety, for opportunity. And you throw it away for what? Pride?" "Carlos," Mariana's voice was sharp. "Stop. She needs to hear this. All her life, making trouble, asking questions, never satisfied with enough." Mariana stood, small but fierce. "Our daughter stood up for what's right. She saved a child's life. She exposed evil. And you dare criticize her? Carlos stared at his wife. Mariana, no. You be quiet now. Mariana turned to Elena. Your father is scared. He doesn't know how to say it, so he gets angry instead. But I will say what he cannot. She cupped Elena's face. We are proud of you. So proud. You are exactly who we raised you to be. Elena felt the tears coming again. People are dying, Mama. People die every day from silence. You chose to speak. That is not a sin. That is courage. Mariana's eyes were wet but fierce. My mother was killed by a corrupt policeman in Mexico. We came here so her death would mean something, so our children could grow up in a place where truth matters. She glanced at Carlos. Your father forgets sometimes, but I don't. Carlos sank into a chair. When he spoke, his voice was broken. I was 17 when the cartel came to our village. They wanted my father to pay protection money. He refused. They shot him in the street. He looked at Elena. I watched him bleed out. Couldn't do anything, couldn't help. So I ran, came to America, and I swore I would never be powerless again. He stood, moved to Elena. When I heard people were trying to kill you, I was that boy again. Powerless. Terrified. His hands gripped her shoulders. I am not angry at you. I am angry at myself. For being afraid. For wanting you to be safe more than wanting you to be brave. Papa, your mother is right. You are who we raised you to be. And that? His voice cracked. That terrifies me. Because I know what happens to brave people. I've seen it. Elena hugged her father, felt his shoulders shake with silent sobs. 35 years of suppressed trauma pouring out. I'm scared too, Papa, she whispered. But I can't stop now. I know. He pulled back, wiped his eyes. So we stand with you, your mother and I, whatever comes. Torres appeared in the doorway. I hate to interrupt, but we have a problem. They followed him to a computer. On the screen, a news broadcast. A reporter standing outside a courthouse. Shocking development in the Carlisle case. Federal prosecutor Janet Morrison was found dead in her home this morning. Police are calling it a suicide, but sources suggest Torres muted it. Janet Morrison was leading the prosecution against Carlisle. With her dead, the case is in jeopardy. They killed her. Elena's voice was flat. Made it look like suicide. We can't prove that, but yes, almost certainly. Torres pulled up another file. 3 other witnesses have recanted their testimony in the last 6 hours, all citing memory issues or misunderstanding the situation. They've been threatened, Jake said, or bribed, or both. Torres looked at Elena. You're the key witness now. Without your testimony, Carlisle walks. Then I'll testify. Elena, they're killing people to silence them. If you take that stand, then I take the stand. Her voice was steel now. The fear was still there, but underneath it, something harder. Determination. Janet Morrison died trying to get justice. I'm not letting her death be meaningless. Torres nodded slowly. The trial starts in 3 days. We'll keep you in protective custody until then. No contact with anyone except vetted personnel. What about my parents? They stay here. Federal protection. We'll rotate teams every 6 hours. No one outside this room knows the location. Elena looked at her parents. Her mother nodded. Her father, still pale, managed a weak smile. 3 days, Elena said. Then this ends. But it didn't end. Over the next 72 hours, the pressure intensified. A car bomb killed Jennifer Hayes and her daughter as they drove to school. The news called it a gas leak. Elena knew better. Sarah Kim survived an attempted poisoning but was hospitalized, unable to testify. Victoria Westbrook was found beaten in her hotel room, alive but traumatized into silence. One by one, the witnesses disappeared. Dead, scared, or bought off. Elena sat in a safe house watching the news, feeling the weight of every death. Jake sat beside her, tighten at their feet. "They're winning," she said quietly. "They're desperate. There's a difference." "Is there? Janet's dead. Jennifer and her daughter are dead. Sarah can't testify. Victoria won't. I'm the only one left." "Then you're enough. What if I'm not? What if I get up there and freeze? What if—" Jake's phone rang. He answered, his expression shifting from neutral to shocked. "You're certain?" He listened. "When?" More listening. "We'll be there." He hung up, looked at Elena with something she couldn't read. "That was the Inspector General. They've arrested someone in connection with the witness killings." "Who?" "Agent Michael Torres." Elena's world tilted. "That's impossible. Torres has been protecting us. He saved my parents." "He saved your parents because keeping them alive kept you compliant. As long as they were in danger, you were controllable." Jake's voice was tight. "But he's been feeding information to Carlisle's network. Locations of witnesses, protection protocols, everything." "I don't believe it." "They have recordings. Torres coordinating the hit on Janet Morrison. Torres giving Jennifer Hayes' location to the bombers." Jake stood, paced. "He's been playing both sides, probably for years." Elena felt sick. Torres, whose niece she'd saved, who'd seemed so genuine, so committed to justice. His niece, Maya. Was that real? "Maya's real. She's his niece. He used her to get close to you, to gain your trust." Jake's hands clenched. "He's good. Very good. I didn't see it." "Neither did I." Elena's voice was hollow. "How many others? How many people do they have inside the FBI?" "We don't know, but the Inspector General is cleaning house. 30 agents under investigation. Maybe more." A knock at the door. Jake tensed, hand moving to his weapon. "Stay behind me." He opened it cautiously. A woman stood there, late 50s, gray hair, tired eyes. She held up federal credentials. "Inspector General Patricia Reeves. I need to speak with Dr. Rodriguez." Jake checked the credentials, nodded, let her in. Reeves sat across from Elena. "I'm here to apologize. Agent Torres was my responsibility. I should have caught him sooner." "Why didn't you?" "Because he was smart, careful, and because I wanted to believe the best of people." Reeves's voice was heavy with regret. "That's a luxury we can't afford anymore." "What happens now?" "Now we rebuild, with people we can trust. And you testify in 2 days." Reeves leaned forward. "I won't lie to you. The danger is real. They've killed 6 witnesses. They'll try to kill you. But we have protocols." "Protocols Torres designed?" Reeves flinched. "Point taken. We're implementing new security measures, new teams, people from outside the Chicago office. I'll personally oversee your protection." "Why should I trust you?" "You shouldn't. You shouldn't trust anyone except your instincts." Reeves stood. "But you have a choice. Walk away now, and Carlisle walks free. Stand up, and maybe we stop this." "People who stand up die." "Some do. Some change the world." Reeves moved to the door. "Your testimony is scheduled for 9 a.m., day after tomorrow. Federal Courthouse, downtown. I'll have a team here at 7 a.m. to transport you." She left. Elena sat in silence, the weight of the choice crushing her. Jake spoke quietly. "You don't have to do this. We can disappear. New identities, new lives. I have contacts." "And let Carlisle win? Let Janet and Jennifer and all the others die for nothing?" "They didn't die for nothing. They died because evil is real and powerful." "Then I make their deaths mean something by finishing what they started." Jake was quiet for a long moment. "I knew you'd say that. You think I'm being stupid. I think you're being exactly who you are. And that's what scares me." He sat beside her. "Because people like you, people who can't walk away from injustice, they're the ones who change the world. They're also the ones who get killed." "So what do I do?" "You testify, and I make sure you survive it." His eyes met hers. "I've protected people in war zones. I can protect you in a courthouse. You can't be in there with me." "No, but Titan can. Service dog accommodation. And I'll be right outside." He took her hand. "You won't be alone." Elena's phone buzzed, a text from her mother. "Your father and I are praying for you. We love you. Be brave, mija." She showed it to Jake. He smiled slightly. "Your parents raised a warrior." "They raised a doctor." "Same thing. You fight death every day. This is just a different battlefield." The night before the trial, Elena couldn't sleep. She sat in the dark, thinking about Maya Torres, about the little girl who'd almost died while Brandon Westbrook beat her savior. Jake found her there at 3 a.m. "Can't sleep?" "Keep thinking about what comes after. If I survive the testimony, if Carlisle goes to prison, what then? The network doesn't disappear. Someone else takes his place." "Probably." "So this is pointless?" "No, it's necessary." Jake sat beside her. "Every dictator who falls, someone else rises. Every corrupt system we tear down, another builds in its place. But that doesn't mean we stop fighting. Why not, if it's endless? Because the alternative is surrender. And surrender means children like Maya die, while doctors get beaten for trying to save them." His voice was quiet but intense. "I've fought in 7 countries, risked my life countless times. And you know what I learned? We don't fight because we'll win. We fight because it's right. Because someone has to stand against darkness even when the darkness seems infinite." "That's exhausting." "Yes, it is. But it's also the only way to live with yourself." Elena leaned against him, felt his solid presence, his certainty. "What happens after?" she asked. "After the testimony?" "After, you rebuild your life, go back to medicine, save more patients, live." "And you?" "I'll still be around. Someone needs to make sure you don't get into more trouble." "What if I want you around for other reasons?" Jake was quiet. Then, "What kind of reasons?" Elena turned to face him. "The kind where 2 people who've been through hell together figure out if they can build something good." "I'm not easy to be with. PTSD, nightmares, commitment issues from 15 years of military service. I have panic attacks, trust issues, and apparently a talent for making powerful enemies." "Sounds like we're perfect for each other." Elena smiled despite everything. "This is crazy." "Most worthwhile things are." He kissed her, gentle, tentative, full of possibility. When they pulled apart, Elena felt something shift. Not hope exactly, something steadier. Partnership. The knowledge that whatever came next, she wouldn't face it alone. "We should sleep," Jake said. "Big day tomorrow." "I don't think I can." "Try anyway. I'll keep watch." Elena went to bed. Titan followed, curled up on the floor beside her. And somehow, with the knowledge that Jake was watching, that her parents were safe, that tomorrow she'd face the hardest test of her life, Elena slept. She woke to dawn light and the sound of vehicles outside. Inspector General Reeves and 6 federal agents waited in the living room. "Time to go, Dr. Rodriguez," Reeves said. "Are you ready?" Elena looked at Jake, at Titan, at the team of agents who would either protect her or fail to stop the next assassination attempt. She thought about her parents praying in a safe house, about Janet Morrison, dead for seeking justice, about Jennifer Hayes and her daughter, killed for having courage, about Maya Torres, alive because one doctor refused to be intimidated. "I'm ready," Elena said. And she was. Not because she wasn't afraid, but because she'd learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was showing up terrified and testifying anyway. They drove through Chicago's morning streets toward the courthouse, toward testimony, toward whatever ending waited. Behind them, the network scrambled. Ahead, justice waited. And Elena Rodriguez, daughter of immigrants, doctor, reluctant hero, was finally ready to finish what she'd started the night Brandon Westbrook's fist had shattered more than her lip. He'd shattered the silence. And now, the truth would speak. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters, cameras, protesters holding signs that read, "Justice for Healthcare," and "Carlisle must pay." Elena stepped out of the armored SUV, and the noise hit her like a physical force. "Dr. Rodriguez, are you afraid?" a reporter shouted. "Dr. Rodriguez, 6 witnesses are dead. Do you think you'll survive?" Jake materialized at her side, Titan pressed against her leg. "Eyes forward. Don't engage." Inspector General Reeves led them through a gauntlet of bodies and questions. Security was everywhere. Metal detectors, armed marshals, bomb-sniffing dogs. They'd turned the courthouse into a fortress. Inside, the marble corridors echoed with footsteps. Elena's heart hammered so hard she thought everyone could hear it. "Courtroom 3, Reeves said. "We have agents on every floor, every exit. You're safe here." But Elena knew better. Torres had proven that federal protection meant nothing against determined killers. They reached the courtroom door. Reeves stopped, turned to Elena. "Once you're inside, you're under the judge's protection. No one can touch you without facing contempt charges." She paused. "But the cross-examination will be brutal. Carlisle's lawyer is Marcus Webb, best defense attorney money can buy. He'll try to destroy your credibility." "Let him try," Elena said, but her voice shook. Jake squeezed her hand. "Remember what I said. You're not fighting alone." Elena nodded, took a breath, pushed open the courtroom door. The room fell silent as she entered. Every seat was filled. Journalists, family members of Carlisle's victims, curious spectators. And there, at the defense table, sat Senator Richard Carlisle. He looked smaller than he had on television, older, but his eyes were sharp as he watched Elena walk to the witness stand. The judge, a severe woman in her 60s named Margaret Chen, nodded to Elena. "Please state your name for the record." "Dr. Elena Rodriguez." "Dr. Rodriguez, you understand you're under oath, that perjury is a federal crime?" "Yes, Your Honor." The prosecutor, a young woman named Lisa Park who'd taken over after Janet Morrison's death, stood. "Dr. Rodriguez, can you describe the events of the night of October 17th? Elena's mouth was dry. She sipped water, then began. "I was treating a critical patient, a 9-year-old girl who'd been in a car accident. She was bleeding internally. Without immediate intervention, she would have died." "And what happened while you were treating her?" Brandon Westbrook entered the emergency room. He demanded I stop treating my patient to attend to his girlfriend's minor injury. And when you refused? Elena touched her jaw, which still ached. He assaulted me. Grabbed me, shoved me into a crash cart, then struck me across the face. Carlyle's lawyer, Marcus Webb, was already on his feet. Objection, Your Honor. This is a trial about Medicare fraud, not assault allegations that have nothing to do with my client. The assault is directly relevant, Park countered. It demonstrates the culture of violence and intimidation that enabled the fraud to continue for 20 years. Judge Chen considered. I'll allow it. Continue, Dr. Rodriguez. Elena described the assault, described Jake's intervention, described discovering the drugging of Marcus Chen, the erased security footage, the systematic corruption. As she spoke, she watched Carlyle. He sat perfectly still, but his knuckles were white where they gripped the table. Dr. Rodriguez, Park said, what happened when you attempted to report these crimes? Charles Westbrook offered me money to stay silent. When I refused, his son hired someone to kill me. When that failed, witnesses started dying. Webb was on his feet again. Objection! There's no evidence linking Senator Carlyle to any murders. Actually, Park said calmly, there is. She pulled out a laptop, connected it to the courtroom monitor. We have recordings of phone calls between Senator Carlyle and the contractors who killed Janet Morrison, Jennifer Hayes, and others. The courtroom erupted. Judge Chen's gavel cracked like thunder. Order! Webb's face had gone pale. Those recordings are inadmissible. They were obtained through legal federal surveillance authorized by 3 separate judges, Park interrupted. All documentation is in order. She played the first recording. Carlyle's voice filled the courtroom. Janet Morrison knows too much. Handle it. Make it look like suicide. Elena watched Carlyle's composure crack. His lawyer was whispering urgently in his ear, but Carlyle shook him off. Park played another recording. Jennifer Hayes has evidence we can't suppress. Eliminate her and anyone she's shared it with. The judge's expression hardened. Mr. Webb, does your client wish to make a statement? Before Webb could answer, Carlyle stood. This is a witch hunt. Those recordings are fabricated. Senator Carlyle, sit down, Webb hissed. I will not sit down. I will not be destroyed by some immigrant doctor who doesn't understand how this country works. The courtroom went silent. Elena felt the slur like a slap. But she didn't flinch, didn't look away. Judge Chen's voice was ice. Senator Carlyle, you will address this witness with respect, or I will hold you in contempt. Respect? For what? For destroying a system that's kept healthcare functional for decades? Carlyle turned to Elena. You think you're a hero? You're a child playing at justice. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done, Elena said quietly. I've exposed a murderer. You've exposed necessary compromises. Healthcare in this country costs billions. Someone has to manage those resources. Someone has to make hard choices about who lives and who dies? Elena stood, unable to stay seated anymore. Eleanor Vance died because Charles Westbrook stole the blood supply she needed. That wasn't a hard choice. That was murder for profit. Eleanor Vance was 72 years old. Her quality of life was hers to decide. Not yours, not Charles Westbrook's. Elena's voice rose. You don't get to play God because you have money and power. I play the only game that matters, survival. Without people like me, the system collapses. Then let it collapse. Elena's hands were shaking, but her voice was clear. Better an honest system that struggles than a corrupt one that thrives on blood money. Carlyle laughed, bitter, broken. You really believe that? You think justice is real, that good wins. He leaned forward. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've bought judges, prosecutors, FBI agents. I've destroyed people stronger than you. And you think your testimony changes anything? Yes, Elena said, because you just confessed to everything, in open court, on the record. Carlyle's face went white as he realized what he'd done. Webb was standing, shouting objections, but it was too late. Judge Chen's gavel fell. Senator Carlyle, you've just admitted to conspiracy to commit murder, witness tampering, and obstruction of justice. I'm remanding you to custody immediately. Bailiffs. Federal marshals moved toward Carlyle. He backed away, pointing at Elena. You think this ends with me? You think I'm the only one? His voice was rising toward hysteria. There are dozens of us, hundreds. We run this country. And they'll come for you, Dr. Rodriguez. They'll come for your parents, your friends, everyone you. A bailiff grabbed his arm. Carlyle tried to pull away, but 2 more marshals closed in. Within seconds, he was in handcuffs. As they led him away, he kept screaming, You're dead! You hear me? You're dead! The courtroom doors closed behind him. Silence fell. Judge Chen looked at Elena. Dr. Rodriguez, thank you for your courage. This court is adjourned. Elena stood there, trembling. It was over. Carlyle was arrested, his confession on record. The nightmare was finally... The explosion ripped through the building's east wing. The courtroom shook. Ceiling tiles crashed down. Someone screamed. Through the windows, Elena saw smoke billowing from the floor below. Bomb! A marshal shouted. Evacuate! Everyone out! Chaos erupted. People running, shouting, pushing toward exits. Jake appeared, grabbing Elena's arm. We need to move, now! But the main doors were jammed with panicking bodies. Jake pulled her toward the judge's chamber. Emergency exit, this way! They ran. Titan led, his training taking over. Behind them, more explosions. Closer now. They're trying to bring down the building, Jake said. Multiple charges, timed to... The floor beneath them buckled. Elena felt herself falling, Jake's hand slipping from hers. She hit something hard, pain exploding through her shoulder. When her vision cleared, she was in darkness. Dust everywhere, her ears ringing. Jake? Her voice came out as a croak. Jake! A bark, close. Titan's warm breath on her face. Then Jake's voice. I'm here. Are you hurt? My shoulder. I can't move my arm. Probably dislocated. I can reset it, but it's going to hurt. He found her in the darkness, his hands gentle but certain. On 3. 1? He didn't wait for 3. The pain was blinding. Elena screamed. Then the relief as her shoulder popped back into place. You said on 3, she gasped. People tense up on 3. Better to surprise them. He helped her up. Can you walk? Yes. Where are we? Storage room, I think. The floor collapsed. We're 1 level down. He pulled out his phone, used the light to illuminate their surroundings. Overturned filing cabinets, broken furniture, and a door partially blocked by debris. Jake moved to it, started clearing rubble. Titan helped, digging with his paws. After 2 minutes of desperate work, they'd cleared enough space to squeeze through. The corridor beyond was a war zone. Smoke, sparks from severed electrical lines, the groan of stressed metal. Which way? Elena asked. Jake oriented himself. North stairwell should be intact. It's designed to survive structural damage. They ran through the smoke. The building shuddered again. More explosions above them. Someone systematically destroying evidence, Jake said. Every floor with courtrooms, records, servers. They're not trying to kill people. They're trying to erase the trial. They reached the stairwell. The door was bent, but Jake forced it open. They started climbing. 1 floor. 2. At the 3rd floor landing, the door burst open. 2 men in tactical gear, weapons raised. "Down! On the ground!" The lead man's voice was professional, military. Jake positioned himself between Elena and the guns. "We're federal witnesses. Inspector General Reeves is dead. Killed in the initial blast." The man's weapon didn't waver. "You're coming with us." Elena's blood froze. Reeves dead. How many others? "Who sent you?" Jake asked quietly. "People who pay better than the government." The man smiled. "Now, Dr. Rodriguez, the flash drives, all copies. Hand them over." "I don't have them." "Wrong answer." He aimed at Jake. "Give them to me, or he dies." Elena's mind raced. The flash drives were in federal custody. She had nothing to bargain with. "She's telling the truth," Jake said. "The evidence is already submitted. Killing us accomplishes nothing." "It accomplishes revenge. You destroyed an organization worth billions. People are very angry." The man's finger tightened on the trigger. A door above them crashed open. "Federal agents, drop your weapons!" The contractors spun toward the new threat. Jake moved instantly, a kick to the first man's knee, an elbow to the second man's throat. Both men dropped. Jake grabbed their weapons, tossed one to the agents appearing in the stairwell. Real agents this time, Elena hoped. The lead agent was a woman Elena recognized from Reeves's team. "Dr. Rodriguez, Commander Morrison, are you injured?" "We're alive," Jake said. "How many casualties?" The agent's face was grim. 17 dead, including Inspector General Reeves, 2 judges, and Senator Carlisle. Elena staggered. "Carlisle's dead?" "Killed in the initial blast. Whoever set those bombs didn't care who died. They just wanted the trial destroyed." But Elena's legal mind was already working. "The confession. It's on record. The court reporter..." was evacuated safely. The recording equipment was redundant, backed up to 3 separate servers. The agent smiled grimly. The explosions destroyed the building, but the evidence survived. "So Carlisle's confession stands." "Every word. It'll be used against everyone else in the network." The agent gestured to the stairs. "We need to get you to safety. There could be more bombs." They climbed, emerged into chaos. Fire trucks, ambulances, federal agents everywhere. The courthouse was a smoking ruin, but people were streaming out, injured but alive. Jake's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression shifting. "It's your parents," he said to Elena. "They're safe. The team protecting them held off an attack. 3 contractors dead, 1 captured." Elena felt tears coming. "Can I talk to them?" Jake handed her the phone. "Mija?" Her mother's voice, shaking but strong. "Are you alive?" "I'm alive, Mama. Are you and Papa okay?" "We are safe. The agents protected us." A pause. "We watched the news, saw the courthouse explosion, thought we lost you." "I'm hard to kill, apparently." Her father's voice came on. "That's my daughter, stubborn like her mother." He was trying to sound strong, but Elena heard the tears underneath. "Come home, Elena. Please. Just come home." "I will, Papa. I promise." She hung up, looked at the burning courthouse, at the bodies being carried out on stretchers, at the evidence of massive violence. "They failed," she said quietly. "They destroyed the building, but the truth survived." "Truth is hard to kill," Jake agreed. "Harder than buildings, harder than people." Over the next 6 hours, the picture became clear. The bombing was coordinated by what remained of Carlisle's network, a final, desperate attempt to erase evidence. But federal redundancy protocols had preserved everything. Carlisle's confession, the financial records, all of it. With Carlisle dead, the remaining conspirators started talking. Deals were made, testimony given. Within 3 days, 17 more arrests. Hospital administrators, pharmaceutical executives, 3 more senators, and 2 cabinet officials. The network unraveled like a sweater with one thread pulled. Elena spent 2 weeks in protective custody, testifying at trial after trial. Each time, she told the truth. Each time, she faced defense lawyers who tried to destroy her credibility. Each time, she held firm. And slowly, justice happened. Not perfect justice. Some people walked on technicalities. Some fled the country. Some made deals that felt too lenient. But the system, broken as it was, began to heal. A month after the courthouse bombing, Elena returned to Memorial Heights. The hospital had been restructured, the corrupt administrators removed. New leadership, new protocols, new hope. Sarah Kim, recovered from her poisoning, met Elena at the entrance.
"Welcome back, Dr. Rodriguez. Or should I say, Chief of Emergency Medicine?"
Elena smiled. Just Elena is fine. Not according to the hospital board. They voted unanimously. Sarah handed her a letter. Official hospital letterhead. The offer she'd been too scared to accept before. Chief of Emergency Medicine, youngest in the hospital's history, a chance to rebuild from the inside. Elena looked at the letter, then at Sarah.
"What about you?"
Director of Patient Advocacy. Someone needs to make sure we never go back to silence. Sarah's eyes were bright. We're building something better, Elena. Something worth fighting for. Victoria Westbrook appeared, walking with a cane, but alive.
"Dr. Rodriguez, I wanted to thank you."
For what? Your husband is dead. Your son is dead. I destroyed your family.
"No, they destroyed themselves. You just refused to help them."
Victoria's voice was quiet but certain.
"I'm testifying at the remaining trials. Everything I know."
And I'm funding a foundation for victims of healthcare fraud, for whistleblowers who need protection.
"Why?"
Because Eleanor Vance was my friend, and I did nothing while she died. I can't bring her back, but I can make sure her death meant something.
Elena hugged her. These broken women, building something from the ruins.
Jake found her later in the ER, watching the organized chaos of a functional emergency department. No corruption, no violence. Just medicine. How does it feel? He asked.
Strange. Normal. Like maybe I can breathe again.
She looked at him.
What about you? The Pentagon investigation.
Wrapping up. Turns out Carlisle had his hands in military contracts too. We're finding connections everywhere. He paused. I put in for a transfer. Chicago office. Permanent.
Why?
Because someone needs to keep an eye on you. Make sure you don't get into more trouble.
And?
And because I'm tired of war zones. Tired of fighting in places that don't want us. I'd rather fight for something that matters. He took her hand. Fight for you, if you'll let me. Elena felt the tears coming again. Good tears this time.
I'm a mess. PTSD, nightmares, probably going to need years of therapy.
So am I. Maybe we can be a mess together.
That's the worst pitch for a relationship I've ever heard.
It's honest. Elena laughed.
Okay, let's be a mess together.
They stood there. Two broken people who'd survived hell, building something fragile and real. 6 months later, Elena stood at a podium in a congressional hearing room. The Healthcare Reform Committee, newly formed, newly honest, had asked her to testify about systemic corruption. She looked out at the faces, senators, representatives, journalists, victims' families. Her parents sat in the front row holding hands.
My name is Dr. Elena Rodriguez, she began. 6 months ago, I was assaulted for refusing to abandon a dying patient. That assault exposed a corruption network worth $2 billion. It cost 6 witnesses their lives. It destroyed a hospital, a courthouse, and countless families.
She paused, gathering strength.
But it also proved something. It proved that one person standing up matters. That courage is contagious. That truth, no matter how buried, eventually finds light.
Elena looked at her parents, saw her mother's fierce pride, saw her father's tears. I'm not a hero. I'm a doctor who did what doctors are supposed to do. Protect patients, no matter the cost. But that shouldn't be heroic. It should be normal. And it will be normal when we build systems that reward integrity instead of silence. When we protect whistleblowers instead of punishing them. When we value human life over profit. She held up a folder. This contains recommendations for healthcare reform, transparency requirements, whistleblower protections, independent oversight. It won't fix everything, but it's a start. As she spoke, Elena thought about everyone who'd brought her to this moment. Janet Morrison, who died seeking justice. Jennifer Hayes and her daughter, killed for courage. Sarah Kim, silent for 30 years until one doctor showed her that speaking mattered. Victoria Westbrook, who chose truth over comfort. Jake Morrison, who'd protected a stranger and found purpose. And Maya Torres, 9 years old, alive and dreaming of becoming a doctor because one woman had refused to abandon her.
We can't bring back the people we lost, Elena said. But we can make sure they didn't die for nothing. We can build a healthcare system worthy of their sacrifice. A system where patients matter more than profit. Where doctors can do their jobs without fear. Where courage is rewarded instead of punished.
She looked directly at the committee chairman. That's what I'm asking for today. Not vengeance, not punishment. Just change. Real, systemic, permanent change. The hearing room was silent. Then from the gallery someone started clapping. Then another. Then everyone. Elena stepped down from the podium. Jake was waiting, Titan at his side. Her parents rushed over, her mother crying, her father gripping her shoulders.
You did it, mija, he whispered. You changed everything. No, Papa. We did it.
You and Mama for teaching me to stand up. Jake for protecting me. Sarah, Victoria, everyone who refused to stay silent. Elena wiped her eyes.
Change doesn't come from one person. It comes from everyone who decides that enough is enough.
3 months later, the Healthcare Integrity Act passed both houses of Congress. Whistleblower protections, independent oversight, mandatory transparency. Not perfect, but better. Memorial Heights became a model for reform. Under Elena's leadership, the ER saved more lives with fewer resources than ever before. Patients trusted them again. Doctors could focus on medicine instead of politics. Sarah Kim trained a new generation of nurses to speak up, to protect patients, to value truth over comfort. Victoria Westbrook's foundation funded legal defense for healthcare whistleblowers across the country. Dozens of people came forward, more corruption exposed, more systems reformed. And Elena, daughter of immigrants, reluctant hero, chief of emergency medicine, learned to live with the nightmares. They didn't disappear, but they faded, and in their place grew something stronger, the knowledge that she'd stood up when it mattered. 1 year after that terrible night when Brandon Westbrook's fist had connected with her face, Elena stood in the same ER. A trauma came in, a teenage boy, internal bleeding, critical condition. As she worked to save him, she thought about Maya Torres, about how one choice could ripple outward, changing everything. She found the bleed, stopped it, watched the boy's vitals stabilize, watched him open his eyes and realize he was going to live.
"Thank you,"
he whispered.
"Just doing my job,"
Elena said. But it was more than a job. It was a calling, a choice she made every day, to stand up, to speak out, to protect the vulnerable even when the powerful demanded silence. That night, Elena went home to the apartment she shared with Jake. He was cooking dinner, Titan sprawled on the floor. A normal evening, a quiet life. "How was your day?" Jake asked.
"I saved a life."
"Just one?"
"One's enough."
He kissed her. "That's my hero."
"I'm not a hero."
"You are to that kid, to Maya, to everyone whose life you changed by refusing to be silent." Jake pulled her close. "You're my hero, too." Elena leaned into him, feeling the steady beat of his heart, feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling like maybe, finally, the war was over. But she knew better. Evil didn't disappear. Corruption would rise again. New battles waited. And when they came, Elena Rodriguez would be ready. Because she'd learned the most important lesson of all. Courage isn't never being afraid. It's being terrified and standing up anyway, day after day, until fear becomes just another thing you carry while you do what's right. And that was a lesson worth everything it cost.